You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Hope everybody's having a great day. BigBeat, how are you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm good. I went to bed last night, Howard, and I did not wake up and order the Switch 2. Look, very simple. Nintendo, NTDOY. We've been talking about that. I've been talking about that now for 2 weeks, saying, hey, look, Nintendo's going to kill it with the Switch 2. And there it is. And boom, up 6% here in the early pre. They didn't even have enough Switch 2s, Howard, for the country of Japan where they make it. They had ran out on Best Buy and GameStop and Target and Walmart. If you even had it in your cart to buy it, they were taking it out of people's carts because they didn't have enough to even sell. So, and the president of Nintendo this morning apologized, saying we thought we had plenty to sell and still didn't have enough to sell. So, well done, Nintendo, with their new Switch 2. I think that's where the tariffs really didn't even affect the buying power there.
Well, but yes and no. So nothing so far that shipped already would have been affected. The problem now is Nintendo's put themselves in a hole where whatever does come to the U.S. from this point forward is going to be tariffed. So I'd actually call that a loss personally.
Well, I mean, they know that the sales are going to be huge, though, right? I mean, they know that, and that's just the Switch 2. That's not even games or accessories, which have been tariffed, by the way. But my goodness gracious, I mean, you're not going to buy one game for your one Switch, right? You're going to be buying multiple games and multiple accessories. I know they have a new Pro controller and all kinds of stuff. That's a whole different ball of wax. So,
I'd also be curious, do they have a subscription service like Xbox and the others? I'm sure they must, right?
They do. Yeah, they do.
That's the big key that's been driving it. The good news is the market's all about earnings today. Quite frankly, for the first time in a while, we're not going to spend too much time talking about the government and tariffs as nothing has changed. So let's start talking about what happened here in the actual markets. Tesla revenue down, 9% year over year. Net income down 71% decline over the previous year. But we know that there is a lot of talk with Elon coming back to the company.
I'm kind of shocked that it's only 9%. I mean, to be honest with you, Tesla's numbers were, they weren't selling anywhere. Germany, most of Europe is saying no to Tesla now. The Chinese electric cars are getting better and better, and they really do have a very there's some serious quality cars over there.
Absolutely.
And the electric. And what I'm understanding is two things over there. The batteries are better than ours, and the charging of these cars is under 5 minutes now, as opposed to 15 and 20 minutes that they're so used to.
Yeah,
now,
we're seeing BYD make a huge move into Europe. They announced it on their earnings this week. They're increasing the amount of showrooms for them tremendously. And if you look at those cars by Li, NIO, and BYD, quite frankly, for the value too, they're a better car. They're beautiful. I wish we could get them in the U.S. It is a beautiful.
Let me get that out of your mouth again. You're telling me that the Chinese make a better car than the United States?
Absolutely do on these. I mean, I've went down that rabbit hole on YouTube and ChatGPT with them, watching all of the European, demos and things, and the quality that you get for a $60,000 SUV out of Li is amazing. It is up there with your BMW M series. So that's the quality that they compare it to, all of the experts in the actual industry. And I agree with them. So yeah, I am so impressed by what they have done in a short time. I mean, they went from garbage to amazing, but so did Korea, right? I mean, look what Hyundai started off as. I had a friend who had an early Hyundai, and he got pissed because me and my other friends on the way to high school one day pulled all of his tabs off of his car because they were literally like plug and play. And now, again, Hyundai and Kia make some of the best cars out there for their money.
Okay, so
So
we're hearing right now that Apple is planning on increasing their iPhone production in India by around 10% this year. India is already assembling between 30 and 40 million iPhones a year. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot of phones there. Whew.
yeah, that's smart by Apple, and could give a lead. Again, the one thing that I've talked about is I'd like to see some movement within India and the U.S. on the trade as one of the first trade partners to try to get something worked out with. As you know, they're one of the bigger developing countries. That's going to be the next place to sell stuff. So getting that there would be good.
You would also have to think about it from a perspective of, if the Switch 2 was this popular, right? Is the new iPhone going to be this popular? That means that Apple is already saying, hey, we think that our new phone, the 17, is going to be really, really, really popular. So it's the thing that I've been thinking about and talking to you about. Like, me, about my Apple thing. I'm not a big Apple fan, right? And I think that this could be a world changer. Yes, over the last week, I bought, as you know, I have an iMac Mini, and I bought an accessory for it to make it, a little bit bigger, to keep it going, because I'm going to need to lay some money. Look, that's the case, right? So I think Apple might be on the right path here.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, I don't believe that they're actually increasing production overall. I think they're just increasing production within India. So I don't know
Slowing down Vietnam. Okay, yeah.
That they're looking for an increase. I do know most people that I know have held off on this one. I was one of them. I was due to get a new phone. Mine's a couple of back. But there was no good and new improvements, and everyone absolutely, destroyed them. When it came out the AI, AI intelligence isn't intelligent. It wasn't good yet. I do think that they got a kick in the butt, and I do think maybe you are 1,000% right. Like with the Switch, there's bent up demand. I do think that's the case. And Lucky Charles says that good morning, and he agrees 100% on the Chinese cars and owns one himself. That is vacation.
Oh, really good. That's cool.
Quality features of BMW for half the price. No joke. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I went down that rabbit hole really hard. Don't ask me why. I'm not in the market for a Chinese SUV or EV or even for an EV. But they got me one night at like 11 o'clock, and I was there all night. And I'll have to send you some of the videos, Steve, because you are a car nut, and it's amazing. They really are. I'm worried about Tesla long term, because I think that they're going to win in the U.S. because you won't be able to buy a Chinese car, and they are the only real answer outside of Ford for EV that isn't going to get hit too much by the tariffs. But what is going to happen in Europe, where was really, in my opinion, was always their stronghold, right? That's where EV car adoption is through the roof, and where the sales were going to come, and in China itself. And right now, I think that Elon's going to have trouble turning that around in both of those markets.
Yes, he will. But he's still Elon Musk.
Well, I lived by "Don't fade the Musk" for a long time.
Don't fade the Musk is what you always say, right?
Yeah.
I think the damage is done.
I'm starting to wonder. I was one of the people again that I think it's very attractive valuation at 250 versus 500. But I also wonder how much of that valuation is actual car valuation, and even their self-driving. I mean, we've seen what WeRide has put together again, and that we know everybody's working on it. They've fallen behind. Can he get them? I guess the question is that insider connection to the White House going to get him quick-tracked into regulations and regulatory approval for this stuff? Because he's behind, right?
The talking the Beltway, it's what we say when we're in Washington D.C., was that the reason that Trump is asking Musk to leave is that Scott Bessent and Elon Musk had a massive fight inside the Oval Office, and you're not going to outweigh the Secretary of the Treasury, who is appointed by the president and
when people leave, but the bridge gets burnt usually.
That's right. The bridge has been burnt now.
Whether or not you try to play it off as nice as you can, some people end up a little better than others. But once you're on in the doghouse, it's hard to get out.
Whirlpool now says that tariffs will not move factories. A 20% tariff will not move a factory from China right now. So that's from Whirlpool WHR.
Yeah, I mean that I saw a couple of companies talking about
Yeah,
that they, that they're going to have to wait out the tariffs because there isn't the opportunity. There isn't people here in the, it's what we talked about, right? There there isn't anybody that wants to make $12 an hour to put together Nike shoes.
correct. And
And it's not
it's
even $12 an hour. I mean, comparing to what they're making in Vietnam, it's $2 or $3 an hour. So that becomes a problem. That difference is, yeah. I just it's an interesting one. One that I talked about, Steve, that I was wondering how it would do was Texas Instruments. Huge earnings beat.
yep.
Moving up really nicely from it. I'm trying to find my notes here. There's so many of them. There's a lot of stuff. And what I loved here is they gave forward guidance of above analyst expectations, moved it up from 4.17 billion to 4.53. They
They
had
did.
11% beat year over year. We joked about this company a little bit yesterday, or I did, right? Because to me, they were, the sort of forgotten one in the chip factory, but they're making a nice move.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that forever. Chips, right? What's the big deal here with chips? And we now know that Texas, we know Texas Instruments makes a lot of chips, right? That we don't really expect. I mean, they no longer make just the calculator, right? I mean,
Right.
I think a lot of people think of that.
That's what I still have them as.
Right.
It's like it's unfortunate for me. I got to get over that because they are a major player,
Right.
and I need to do some research because I don't know where their chips go into, and what that is. So that's one I definitely got to do more research on. There another one that's been moving up. ServiceNow had some nice numbers, up almost 10% here on the day. Big one there. Their subscription revenue increased 19%. And quarter one revenue up 18.5%. And again, another company that raised full year subscription revenue guidance. So, we are seeing if you give guidance and it's good guidance, you're being rewarded. On the other side of that, I do have to bring up a couple of the ones that moved the other way here. IBM being one of them here, down about 6.88%. And they had, while they were up 2% year over year with their quarter one revenue, they're maintaining full year revenue growth forecast of at least 5%. That really didn't get into the numbers at all. So they're getting hit pretty hard here again. IBM down about 6.88%. Another one getting hit pretty hard that's been a high flyer lately is Chipotle. And I do have their one right here. And they're seeing comparable sales decrease by about 0.5 percentage point. To me, was the biggest takeaway there. And they lowered full year comparable sales growth to low single digits from previously expected mid single digits. So they do still plan to open up about 315 to 345 restaurants this year. So their restaurant growth is still growing. But again, lowering guidance. So we do see that. And that's a little concerning because they were one of the companies thought to be fairly immune from the tariffs. So that was one there. Let's go back to the good side a little bit. Another company moving nicely up today is Hasbro. On their earnings, up about 8.75%, up 1.13% yesterday. So almost a 10% move up by Hasbro, Steve. That was one that you mentioned in the past with their, great product line, their IP, intellectual property that they own and control, and how that would work. So you definitely nailed that one also. Hasbro up 8.75% today. A couple others I had for us here. Like I said, today it's all about earnings. So I'd like to get into them a little bit. Lam Research, another one of the chip manufacturers. It's one that I always, for some reason, in my mind, still think that they are a Medicare company, a medical company. But they killed it. Quarter one revenue up 8%, gross margin income 33.1%, and they raised guidance also, expected to be up about 300 million to 5 billion from where they saw. So again, up yesterday 5%, up 4.24. So we're seeing nice 10% jumps. Another one I have, Steve, is one of your favorites, Newmont out there. Quarter one revenue came in up about $1 billion and 20% year over year. Their net income had an adjusted EPS growth also. They have a record high free cash flow, so they could start mining wherever they want, right? And their forward guidance is on track to meet the 2025 guidance. And they're only assuming that at gold prices staying at above 2,500. So I wanted to see where they figured that out, if they were doing that at gold's all-time highs here. But when they gave their estimates, they actually used 2,500 as their base for the gold price.
Newmont Mining. I've been talking about it for a while now. With gold prices elevated, they're going to be digging more out of the ground. They're going to put everybody to work, right? And margins will go up because you know what? There's a need for it, right? And they also, they don't just hold the gold in their hands and hope for the best, right? They do sell it almost immediately what they bring up. And they have buyers that buy the raw, and then of course they refine it and then smelt it and all the other things around it. So, but I don't think it's going to stop, and I don't think it's for if rare earths are a problem in China as a situation for us to getting them, then these diggers, as I'm going to call them, are going to go dig a lot more, right? They're going to go find rare earths where they don't normally go. Think of it like Nevada and Utah and places with in the mountains and the flats, salt flats too as well. So you're going to find lithium, molybdenum. There's a lot of things, right? So in my case right now, I think the miners are going to do very, very well. And they have, and I should say should continue to do very well.
Right. They've been moving, as Peter Thomas talked about with you last time. They've been moving at about a 3-to-1 move versus gold itself. Freeport McMoran also had theirs. They had a revenue beat there, 5.73 versus 5.39. EPS came in line with estimates. They produced 868 million pounds of copper, 287 kilo ounces of gold, and 23 million pounds of molybdenum. What is molybdenum?
Molybdenum, my man. Okay, molybdenum is a lot of uses for it, right? Including TVs, and I think that's part of what I think. That's one of my big favorite things, the molybdenum. And being the son of a pharmacist and chemist, I understand all this stuff. And let me tell you, it is a very important piece of what we need, and lithium obviously being one. I think everybody knows what lithium is today because it goes into, but what they don't understand is how electric batteries work, right? You need a hot plate and a cold plate, and they shake the two between the two, and that's what makes the electricity, right? And they run, they run the liquid
electrons
through, right? And the plates get hot, and molybdenum is also in that too. So, believe it or not, in your cell phone you have gold, right? So there's a lot of different metals that go into making electronics, and I think this is where it's very important that we pull some of this stuff up there.
Steve, I will say, one thing that doesn't get increased when people have extra money and want to mine is Bitcoin. That supply doesn't change. So do you want to mention that?
Isn't Bitcoin a real thing? It's that fake coin that's running around. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you can't make more of it. Just remember that.
That's right.
Hey, I do want to also bring up, we had some healthcare names come across. Merck had their earnings here. Revenue was slightly down 2% year over year. They did beat the earnings or the estimates, and they did have a beat on EPS. MRK, sorry, I don't have it up on my screen here. And Keytruda was up about 4%, 7.2 billion of that revenue that they have. So almost about half of their revenue right now coming from Keytruda, and Gardasil in for 1.3 billion. They did give guidance revenue. They lowered it about 200 million for tariffs, and they are pretty flat. So we're seeing, again, if you had good numbers, but your forward guidance is looking a little weaker than you thought, you're staying pretty neutral. I like that. I mean, in other words, that's what we should be seeing, right? The market actually.
Well, my problem with Keytruda is it is one that is very heavily advertised, and because of that advertisement, they're going to have a hard time, I think,
keeping up with sales, right? Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, isn't that a huge concentration for such a big company too, to take about half of your revenue from one drug?
That is correct. Yes, and especially being Merck Sharp and Dome. That's what I was
going to ask you next. I mean, honestly, because that's what these are the things that I take away as a layman in some of these things that it's so great to have you to ask that question to is, hey, that seems like a lot to me. Are all the companies like that where they only really have one drug or two drugs that make money? I mean, I know there's always that market leader that everybody's got. And right now they tend to be the GP1s, so that is part of it. And like you said, if they do, if RFK Jr. has his way and we do see less and less advertisements or no advertisements for drugs, they would definitely be one probably that gets hurt. My only thing there is, as I have a lot of friends in the medical sales field, and all they'll do is they'll increase the money they give the doctors to prescribe the drugs. They'll just do it another way, right? That's they do it one of two ways. It's either they goose the actual doctors to use one drug versus another. Why am I picking this GP1 versus another? Because I'm getting a kickback, or they take me to the Super Bowl, or they take me to Augusta for the Masters. All of those things are very much in play. We do also have Bristol Myers also had their earnings last night, BMY, for those of you following on at home. And they are down about 4% between the last 2 days. And they have two key drugs, which were Opdivo and Yervoy. Both beat expectations, but again, they did lower 2025 guidance. So the drug companies, which we knew, right, a lot of drugs are made in China, right? We know that. So that is not too surprising there.
And Mexico.
Yeah. Right now, we're seeing, Steve, getting back to the bigger picture, I'll bring up my screen here and talk a little bit from the viewpoint of the Qs. Right now we're about where we were. We're a little bit below, actually. While we had a nice positive day of 2.27, if you just look at it from that perspective, quite honestly, yesterday wasn't a very positive day. Most of the day we had a decline, slight rally in the afternoon, but finished lower than our cash market open. I think today is a pretty big day because of that. I think that if we see a strong day today, it means the market actually has some holding power. But if we go right back down, I think it shows that the opposite is true, that we're still in that, very, very topsy-turvy, hard to hold things personally overnight.
I mean, we're living tweet by tweet, right? We're living by what the news is coming out with right now. For me, I just don't see any catalysts, because even if there is earnings coming out, even if it is some kind of good data piece coming out, it's really not. It's really being buy the dip, sell the rip right now. It's still.
Yeah, I was actually going to say it's mean reversal. Because it's what I've noticed is, when I do my gainers and laggards every day, it's literally taking one from one list and putting it on the other list. Newmont was down yesterday, up today. WeRide was down yesterday, up today. You go the other way, a lot of the ones, JD, we talked about being up yesterday, down today. Webull was up nicely yesterday, down today. It's been a lot of that, right? Where nobody has much staying power. They're just getting in and out. So it makes it, which is what we've sort of suggested to people. It's what I'm doing. I'm getting in and out. So I can't get mad at other people for doing it. But that's what I want to see. I do think if we make a day, again, 466 on the Qs is the key spot. We haven't been able to get above it. We've had all of these nice rallies, but the bottom line is that 466 hasn't been broken. It didn't get broken yesterday.
Yeah, but we still have bad news out there. Any good news, Howard? This thing explodes to the upside. I mean, it's
well. That's what I'm saying is that it's not. We've seen the same explosion to the same place.
You don't think that
it just waits for it to drop, and then we get good news when we hit 450, and it goes right back. I mean, you can see it. Yes, it made a bigger move 2 weeks ago on April 9th when it moved all the way up from 415 to that 466. But when it made the jump again here on the 11th, it got knocked down at 466. And then when it made its run up yesterday, it got knocked down at 466. Right. Do we have enough good news that can get something through it is what I'm saying. It seems like people are pretty set. It's almost like that 90,000 price we saw at Bitcoin, right? Somebody's got a sell wall there. And every time we get to 466, the selling just really picks up.
No, that's correct.
Tick is up about 161 right now. Advanced decline up about 1,000. What I am very happy to see is the VIX back down to 27.67 and sort of sitting there. Again, that nicely came down throughout yesterday, and it has continued to fall down this morning. So that is, that's what I mean. Can we get this VIX down? Can we get people to feel more comfortable about staying in trades? Will change the market dynamics.
So, Howard, one thing I want to show this morning is I'm gonna share my screen here if I can. There we go. Yeah. Hopefully you guys can all see that. I wanted to talk about this morning. If you really want to talk about inflation, I think that you got to talk about Walt Disney World and Disney ticket prices. In 1975, you could go to the park, the Magic Kingdom in Disneyland, where it started, for $8. Today, we are about to break $200 on Disney Park in Florida in 2026 for next year. They released their numbers, and that's another 9% jump in ticket sales, prices, I should say. And you see this chart here. The yellow and the green is Disneyland and Disney World. In the pinkish color there, that is Paris, and that is it's Disneyland Tokyo, and that's Disneyland Paris at the bottom. That is what I'm trying to explain to people, that when you talk about inflation is worse in the United States over the last 20 years than it is in international, right? We've kept it pretty steady. They've kept it pretty steady, the ticket prices in both Paris and in Tokyo. I didn't add Hong Kong for a reason, Shanghai, but you can see here that the United States, right around 2010, is when things started to take off. Because they were building Tokyo Disneyland, they kept the prices higher there, but now on a normal trajectory because they're not building anymore. It's paid for. So you can see here why. Because they are building, Disneyland and Disney World are both building. They're building another world here soon. But to me, that tells me just about everything that I need to know. And that it's all about global expansion and global growth. And that's where you're starting to see the inflation. Now, if the inflation sticks around after this has happened, then I would say, okay, yeah, Disney World, you're increasing your ticket prices just a little too fast, a little too much. But if this is to keep up with the costs, then I understand. And there's your inflation, and I've already said.
I pulled up while you're doing that. The cumulative inflation rate from 1990 to 2024 in the U.S. is 138%.
That's correct.
They've increased further than that.
Yeah.
So they're increasing margin.
But for me, my point is that I think a lot of it has to do with growth of the company, right? Global growth, on the backs of the United States, expansion, and the new parks on the backs of the United States. So
yeah, we're paying for them to expand across the globe, and they're not sharing it, with others. Yeah, absolutely. We are about 1 minute from the start here. We see the advanced decline in that no man's land, around 1182. So depending on what happens with the cash only trades, it could move either way. I do think it's going to move to about 3,000 on the positive side, as the tick looks pretty good. QQQ set to open up about 0.4% on the day. We are looking at here opening up right around 456.20. A little bit above where we closed yesterday, so nice to see that, but nowhere near where we opened yesterday, as you can see here on the shorter term chart. Yesterday we opened up at 461 or so. So let's see what we get here as we open up. We are coming right into it here. Tick is picking up a little bit of speed here. So
and after the market opens up, I want to ask you about Mr. Jack Mallers himself and his $500 trillion economy. Here we go. We are open, and I'm not really seeing a lot here. Tick down 18, Disney down a little bit here. Disney flat.
Advanced decline didn't move much, 22, so it doubled. But again, that is not a huge move. I like VIX hasn't moved at all, still at 27.67 here. There goes the bell. Bitcoin back down around just below 93. We'll see what we get out of that this morning.
Tick is still slipping here a little bit. VIX really hasn't moved much.
Okay, 450. Yeah, VIX has stayed pretty stable. First move on the Qs.
Bitcoin's struggling at 92.8 here. I'd like to see a little pop to the 93 handle here.
First move's coming into the downside here, it looks like, but 450, you know, our cash open, which I like to keep an eye on here, 465.55. So there you go. We just broke through it. So QE is trying, the algos are fighting it out, trying to move it to the upside to start off with. And we are seeing a move to the upside. Tick still slightly negative, though. Advanced declines come back down below 2,000 here.
The advanced decline line is a rather, yeah, like you said, you know, it's trying to hold here. So I kind of like this.
Yeah, I'm with you.
IBM, you know, I'm struggling this morning, saying that they had a problem with about 12 of their contracts, right, in the federal government. So because of
they definitely got hit pretty hard here this morning. Now down almost 7% on the day. Not at the lows of the day, but they definitely are struggling a bit here. Seeing if any of these early movers are moving one way or the other. Service now nice to the upside. Service now up 12.57%.
President Trump now telling Putin to stop Russian strikes on Kiev.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
I thought they were friends. You know, he listens
Service
to him.
now and Hasbro are really moving to the upside here. Hasbro up 13.9, almost 14%. Ooh, they just jumped over 14. So we do got a little pumpers here, a couple of pumpers.
Tick just took a smack down there.
Look at the Mag 7, everything but Meta so far in the green. Meta down slightly. We know with the overhang of the lawsuits that just, or their fines they just got handed by the EU, has them trading a little bit lower here today. They have said they're going to fight those, though, so we will see that, how that plays out. NVIDIA back at 103.27, though, holding up pretty well. Biggest gainer so far. Netflix again back above that 100.50 area. Actually now up at 106.290. So definitely moving back up towards its all-time highs. Tick is staying pretty neutral to slightly negative. Dow Jones has opened up down about a 0.5 percentage point here. So the Dow Jones getting hit. Not sure which.
Yeah, I'm sure it's IBM is pulling heavily on the
yeah, Dow. I can get a pretty quick view of that here. Also looks like Health is bringing it down a little bit too. JJ looks down here. You got a few of them. You can see Health and Technology, J&J down about 1.59, Abbott down about 1.43, Pfizer down 0.78. So that sector is definitely dragging a little bit here in the S&P 500. Also,
right now,
consumer non-durables getting hit real hard today too.
25% of the S&P now have reported, and right now I'll post so everyone sees this. 25% reported, and 78% have a beat, with a 7.4% year-over-year EPS growth rate. In a normal economy, that we would be exploding to the upside on this. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's all I keep saying is that watch these earnings reports, read these earnings reports, spend your time if you're not trading right now because you don't feel comfortable, getting to know these companies. As you can see, that's what I'm doing, spending my time doing, because it will come back to pay you off in spades when the markets start moving to the upside. You'll know which ones are
interesting. Best. It is interesting, Howard, when you look at what the guidance are. Some are repeating guidance, some are pulling back guidance, some are saying, I don't want to talk about guidance, some are saying, I want to stick my head in a hole. No, you got to talk about the future. I know it's unclear. I just shined up my crystal ball a few minutes ago. It still doesn't work. Look, It's very simple, Howard. Any good news, and this market is poised to go to the upside. I mean, heavily up to the upside. There's so much cash on the sidelines right now. People want to buy. People know that look, the tariffs will go away eventually, right? Okay, well, then get it done.
My question is, do they want to buy and hold? Because everything you're reading in the Wall Street Journal and these articles is about the new trader, the new trader, the new trader that's scalping and zero DTEs and all those other risky trades that they're making that they're not investing.
What I said 2 years ago, the zero DTEs would be a detriment to this economy and the markets the way that they are and to be broken. I was right again. I know that SIBO thinks that, I get it, pays the bills, and I love SIBO. Everybody knows that. I'm a big fan. But no, I mean, if you think about it from the perspective of the new quote trader, there's no such thing as a new trader. They've always been around. The difference is how that they trade. They're trying to keep up. And we've always asked the question, how do you keep up with computers? How are you going to keep up with Quotron and Quotrek? How are you going to keep up with Globex when it came out in 1991, right? It's not a new trade. It's a new type of way of trading. And the people that are coming into the market are having to adapt to that type of trading. So that it's not a new type of trader. They're always in there, they're ready to go, right? So no, I like this. I'm okay with it. Nothing's wrong, different changed for me. I don't like zero DTs, still don't, because it's that gambling mentality, and the markets are not gambling, it's investing. And the thing that bothers me the most is if they continue to lose money, which 88% of day traders do lose money, just the way it is.
Only 87.6. Do not give them
87.6. Sorry,
do not overestimate them.
Rounding up to 88. Okay, sorry. But yeah, look, I want to cut that down, right? I day trade every day. Everybody knows that, but you're not going to win unless you invest, right? And you're also losing because even if you make money, you're still paying more in taxes. So stop, right? You gotta have both. You gotta have investment money, trading money, and you've also got to have swing trading money. So separate those pots into three. The most you should always have is in your investment, and stick it away in an account. Now, I always tell people the same thing. If you only have one trading account, you're definitely not doing it right. You need to have an account
because you're gonna. Yeah, I'll speak to that one because, as you know, at Prosper, I dealt with this so much where people they allowed what was supposed to be a scalp to end up being a long-term investment. And it usually only happens when things go down, right? When things go down and they don't sell them quick enough. And then they say, well, now it's part of my long-term holding. That is not a way to invest. That's a way to just burn yourself out. So as Steve has said, you should have one account. I have more than one for different things. And then one other thing that Steve brought up that I do want to touch on, and we're going to talk more with Dr. Alan Ellman and Michael Stewart, Stephen Orr's mentor when it comes to the world of trading, I believe. We are going to talk about using a self-directed 401k to avoid some of that. So where you are trying to do long-term wealth and where you're trying to save for your retirement, that you can do some of that within a tax protected way. And if you listen to us yesterday with Dr. Ellman, he does most of his trading within it because almost every company now allows, or every brokerage allows, for the use of covered calls within self-directed 401ks, and most of them cash secured puts. So there are a lot of ways to sort of dice this onion up, and we want to show you all those different ways. But one of the first keys is listening to BigBeat and get yourself one account set up for your long-term holdings, one account set up for your swing trading, and one set up for your day trading. It's very important to do. Tick's gone kind of negative here, Steve. Q's still rising. I love it. Over 457 now, so moving back up here again. First area of resistance that I see is in that 461 area, which was our high of the day yesterday. We'd have to break through that to show us that we got some strength for the third day. I do think, again, if we show some strength here today, you could see people, like Steve said, pile in and look for that move to the upside. So I am watching what's going on pretty closely here today across it. Market Shark, you are 100% right. It's being called a sore loser. It's okay to take hits. It's very okay. Holding on to the loser is not okay. I couldn't agree more. Steve just threw that up there for us. Yeah, you nailed it. Hey, by the way, Market Shark, you owe me an email. I'm going to give you my email address here again so I can get you your free year subscription to Quasar Markets. Let me put that here for you again.
104 now on NVIDIA. Come on, baby. Let's go. Netflix at 1,073 right now.
Yeah, it's running, man. It is running. And the Qs are running 457.55. So it looks like, let's see here, that 461, I think, comes in. And we do that. Hey, Rod, Saeed, and Gaza, welcome. I hope all is well and you're safe there. Thanks for joining into Quasar Markets. VIX 2760, Steve. I love seeing that is not moving much while the rest of the market sort of is. Doesn't seem to be anybody lining up one way or the other on the VIX so far.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of profit taking here. I think the algos kind of hit the markets a little bit everywhere. Bitcoin fell first. But
yeah, Apple just went negative on the day now.
And yeah, the tick's at 500 here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of sell-off here, although the tick just picked back up nicely here. So maybe, that's what I mean. These algos, the tick is moving per tick because they're just fighting it out here. Let's see what's moving the most so far. And again, folks, what I have up on our screen is our Quasar Markets platform with my widgets. Great to have this on one of your monitors at all times. Go to quasarmarkets.com, sign up for your free subscription, and I'm telling you,
the new version is out today, Howard, and we've got a lot of new features and functions. We're working on a lot more cool things.
We're going to have a lot of videos, and we're going to be doing a lot of segments on it. But for those that don't know, these are all the components that are built into Quasar Markets. All of these things you see here, from the artificial intelligent Quasar Markets AI, guarantee you that's worth the $14.99 itself. I use it daily to get the information I bring here. All of your news from Pluto, Quasar's institutional news. I do want to point that out. It's one of my favorite ones for doing research here, because what they do great is our team has put together all the analyst reports come across here as they come. So I can see that Truist just changed the price target on Old Dominion. Morgan Stanley just changed the price target on Lam Research. Argus just changed its price target on Citizen Financial. And then not only can I see it, I click on it, I get the full article, what's going on. Does it give me any information from there? All I want to do, if I want to click over now, so now I know I want to read more about Lam Research, right? So now I've personally already set mine up into a couple of different screens. I go to my data screen here, and I type in Lam Research here into my little ticker. If I remember, LRCX, is that right? Yeah. And what happens now, I can see here in 1 minute, boom, not only do I get all of the latest news on Lam Research, I get their performance, I get their order flow, all that right here. They're trading at 69.34. Previous close was 66.73. I can see their volume. I can see where their order flow is
Here
doing.
reports that the White House says they are in very close agreement in principle on trade with India. It's according to Charles Gasparino on Fox Business right now. So a deal with India.
Right. I've been saying it. That to me was what Apple was saying with that decision. And then to go a little bit further, everybody, if I want to start to look at the option chain, if I'm an option trader and now I want to do with Lam Research, type it in. My option chains right here in front of me.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is all on one screen. If I want to then know the market fundamentals on it, I come over to this area.
Yeah,
I have the ability to pull up all the key debt metrics right here. What's their market cap? What's their 52-week high, 52-week high date, the low, all the information. I can go to the company website from here. I can kick into anything, the latest SEC filings. No other company provides you all of this access, able to be done on one screen. I used to do this off of 8 screens. That's not a joke. If I turn around my camera, you guys would see, and Steve could do the same. So that is what's so amazing about what Steve and the team have put together here. And again, that all comes from one screen. I can keep this all in front of myself. It pulls up that quickly, and I'm able to switch back and forth, get my heat maps, get my ticker, get what the U.S. market movers. What's up the most today? PAVMZ. It's up 112.5%, followed by BCTX, up 60%. What's the latest halts? KWESST Microsystems. It got halted at 941. Here's my heat map so I can see crypto's getting hit today again. Why? Because it's been the mean reversion trade, right? Yesterday and for like the last 48 hours, crypto ran. So now it's pulling back. What's moving up today? Technology. What was pulling back yesterday? And look at it that way. Everything
We're
right
hearing that China is halting their 125% tariff on semiconductors from the United States. It's NVIDIA right now. NVIDIA has just jumped here about 1.5% here. We're now hearing that China is halting their 125% tariffs on semiconductors. Kaboom! That is huge news coming up right now.
104.35 here. The thing I'd be worried about with NVIDIA there, though, is still what is the U.S. doing with the ability to get them? Because China might want to take the tariffs off them, but do keep, Market Shark, send me, okay, there you go. Okay, my friend, I will shoot you an email off of that, and we'll get you set up. Thank you, my friend. My question there is, be careful, because remember, NVIDIA, it's not about them, how much they cost. People will pay whatever they cost for them. The question is on NVIDIA, will the U.S. allow the shipment of the H2O chip, which they said so far no.
China's foreign minister Wang Yi is now meeting with Swiss counterparts. So China and Switzerland should jointly respond to anti-globalization challenges, according to the Chinese finance ministry. So things are moving in China over there. So maybe China is.
Well, they've made a big move that they've made it clear that they think that, they've pointed out to Europe, and we know how Europe's reliance on Russia moved, right? That they're the answer there.
We're hearing, unfortunately, a person has been shot by cops in Canada's largest airport in Toronto.
Oof.
That's not normal.
Yeah, Canada, they don't have guns.
Right. That's must be a bad person there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bitcoin is really struggling at 93,000 for some reason. Someone's up there selling up there for some reason there, Howard.
Yeah. I mean, not for any reason. There's just some profit taken again. People, again, that did what? Bought in at 94, 95, like we told them not to, because they thought it's going to a new all-time high.
They're nervous, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's just standard practice. You did start to ask me, and we do need to talk a little bit about what's going on with the new company 21. It's going to go in a lister on the NASDAQ as XII. It is a partnership between Tether, Cantor Fitzgerald, and Bitfinex are the big companies. It's going to be run by Jack Mallers, the CEO of Strike. They are funding it to start off with 42,000 Bitcoin, and they say that they are going to be the alpha when it comes to Bitcoin strategy, that they're going after Michael Saylor's business. They say that Michael Saylor, that I actually was looking, do I still have that? They gave all the reasons why they were going to be better. And, a big part of it is that Michael Saylor, the amount of shares already out there for MicroStrategy and the amount of Bitcoin that it holds, it takes more and more capital to increase the Bitcoin points per share, which they say is probably the most important component of this, and that they're going to have a better cost analysis on there. So it's interesting. You brought up to me, of course, who was our Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. What's his company? Cantor Fitzgerald. So while you still are on the inside, make sure you take advantage of this regulatory climate. And, Tether, this gives them a lot more legitimization, right? I would say in the US. You know, it will be interesting because up until this point, Tether has pulled out of the U.S. market. If you're a regular U.S. citizen, you cannot mint your own Tether. You have to buy it on the secondary market due to our rules and regulations that they didn't want to be part of. And they're one of the few companies that really haven't been tested on that.
Oh my goodness! I just saw my first gold commercial on CNBC a few minutes ago.
There it is. Sell, sell, sell.
There it is.
Right now,
boys
yeah,
and girls.
government is up. For those that don't know and don't watch daily, one of BigBeat's first rules when it comes to the commodity markets is when we see all of the ads selling gold on CNBC, you want to sell yours because the big money is moving, right, Steve?
That's right. They're trying to get rid of their gold. They're the highs. They don't want to sell the lows. And they think that it's in, and they've got a lot to sell. They've been holding it, right? So now they need to sell it. So how do they do that? They advertise. And so, yeah, that's a very interesting. It's the first one I've seen now in months, Howard. So yeah,
I haven't seen them because there hasn't been enough gold to do it. So that's interesting.
Right.
We'll have to hit up our man. And again, I do want to point out, I don't want to beat a horse here, but if you want to buy gold, silver, and other metals right here in our platform,
right in the platform, yeah,
is AU Secure, who I have an account with myself, so that I can buy gold and silver. And give it 1 second to pull up here, and look what I can do right from there. I can add to the cart. Do I want to buy 1 ounce of a silver Malta Europa? That's $40.71. Or if I'm feeling really bullish, do I want to buy 1 ounce of platinum Britannia? That's $1,092, and you have it all here.
I do like platinum right now. Platinum's pretty undervalued, I think.
But yeah, all of this is available. There's 11 pages of options that you have here. Thank you to Peter Thomas and his team at AU Secure. And again, this is directly through the Quasar Markets app. You don't even have to leave this screen. I can't point it out. I mean, it's crazy how much I use this on a daily basis, how easy it is. Oh, I just realized I wasn't showing that. Let me show you that quickly here, how easy it is to go to our homepage, to go to AU Secure. And to have the ability to buy in your gold, silver, platinum, 11 pages of options here, you know, from as low as $40 I've seen to as much as $3,435 if you wanted 1 ounce gold American Eagle coin like Stevie there buys. I'm more in this 1/10 of an ounce American Gold Eagle coin type of buyer. So, but yeah, I mean, I can't stress it enough. You can get all of that right out of the platform. No need to go somewhere else. And then when you want to get right back into your charts, here you are able to just click right back in there. So we are seeing the market starting to slip for sure. Bitcoin's picking up a little bit, now only down a little less than 1% on the day.
I feel like the calm before the storm here today, Howard. I feel like there's something about to just take off here. I don't know what it is. I feel like there's going to be a tweet, a news, something.
Well, we could see it here in the next 10 minutes because we're coming right up on that key resistance from yesterday. So can we get above that 4? You know, again, that's what showed me positivity. I want to see us break yesterday's high. And then, you know, I think we have a little bit of strength for the day. If we don't break today's high, I think we fade off like we did yesterday. I don't think it's a far fade.
NVIDIA top highs of the day here, 104.56.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything's hitting highs of the day right now. Like I said, no, I got to see stuff break yesterday's highs though. You can see it. SPY would have to get up here above 540.
And WTI is still sitting here around 62.87 here on spot. So it's like we're not really seeing the moves that we were expecting here. And
well, WTI, I mean, oil to me is as confusing as can be because 1 second they're increasing production, but demand's coming down, but the SPR needs to be refilled. There's pent up need, but how does the tariffs affect it? I don't think anybody knows what the hell to do with oil, including the oil experts. You know, it's just so you want to talk about a market right now that is there. VIX is at 27.48, so it's picked up a little bit, not much though. I'm not too nervous there yet. Still trying to move to the upside, like I said. Q's, it's got to break this 460 and hold for me. You know, that's got to be it. It's got to get above yesterday's high. And again, that was 463.42. But those are the key things I've got to see a broader market recovery. If we look at the early market gainers, Texas Instruments is holding up nicely, up about 5%. Now took off, up now 15.54%. Hasbro holding up nicely here at this 12.39%.
We're hearing reports that CME Group says they will launch Ripple futures trading on May the 19th.
Yeah, that came out yesterday, the day before I brought it up here. Yeah, Ripple has regular and Nano. Well, actually, no, you said CME. So they're following, just so you know, that Coinbase announced.
Right, that's the new one. That's the futures.
So they're following. Yeah, you're going to see more and more. Did they mention nanos too? Because they're doing nanos on Coinbase.
I don't see that one yet.
Yeah, so they're going to even do nanos there. Although I don't know why you'd need a nano on a $2 item. But
U.S. trade rep Greer now says they met with the Vietnamese counterparts here on trade and had a productive virtual meeting, according to a new statement now out of the USTR.
Trying to find something here. So Cantor Equity Partners up 36% on that news of that company. Wow. Shares of Cantor Equity Partners surged 55%. Wow. Up, and this is crazy. And this is the blank check company that is going to become 21 Capital.
We're seeing another run here, possibly here, Howard. 104.52 on NVIDIA as tick now up almost 300 here. Silver pushing higher here a little bit, 33.32 after that run to 33.50, down to 33.15, now at 33.20, 33.32 right now.
Here goes the Q, 460. Here we go, 460. So here we go. We're trying to run up to yesterday's high. Let's see what we get here. I will mention we hit yesterday's high right at the 10 o'clock hour. So, this is, although we're showing more momentum today than we did yesterday. We sort of slid up yesterday.
There you go, 104.80. There you go. Let's go. Ticks up 500 here. Kaboom. All right, let's see some more buyers here. This is the sell. I think the shorts are starting to capitulate a bit.
That's what we saw yesterday with short covering, because once the short covering ended, that's when we started to fade out. So that's what I'm going to keep an eye on here.
And we could go right back up to where the sellers were, right? Go test the highs of yesterday.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm watching is this hourly chart here on the Qs. And I'll circle it here. What I'm looking at, everybody, is yesterday right around the 10 o'clock hour, we got up to that spot right here, about 463. And you can see that we had that same thing on Monday. All week, this has been our spot that has been rejected so far. So
I think if it wasn't for IBM dragging on the Dow, I think the Dow would be up too. I mean, I think
what I noticed too is the Dow, healthcare was still down. I'd have to look at it, but healthcare, although I don't know how much healthcare is in the Dow. You know what? I can do a quick look right here.
Reading an article now about how lab-grown teeth. 105 there on NVIDIA. Hey, baby, there you are. Just reading the gold production numbers coming out of China, 378.2 tons. That is a lot of tons. Whew.
Yeah, Steve, the Dow is being brought down by also Procter & Gamble, Merck, Travelers, a couple of them up there, the big boys.
Healthcare and insurance. I mean, that's what's hurting right now. Right?
What's that?
Healthcare and insurance, right?
Yeah, those are the three. And Procter & Gamble, which is consumer staples. Although I'd call it consumer discretionary. But the Dow's gone positive. Here we go.
Yeah,
Market wants to run here. Market wants to run. Q's going to challenge that 461 area here.
Trying to drop here, Howard. So we're now VXX is 67.27, and we can start to see a little more of that pushing to the downside. I think we're good.
Yeah, like I said, we're hitting the key spot here, so we'll see very soon here. Before we're right at 10 o'clock. This is where we hit our max yesterday. It's where we tend to see the algo start to fade off a little bit. So let's see which way we go here. You know, a nice move to the upside right now. Like I said, this is the hour that we saw our highs yesterday. So up until, unless we break yesterday's high, to me, we have a repeat. You know, a little bit of a bull trap. So keep your eyes here. We haven't been able to break above this spot, you know, going back until April 9th here. So it's been 2 weeks. Let's see if we can get through it, though. We are definitely trying. What is doing well today is our early morning pumpers are all holding up well. So that bears well.
93,000 on Bitcoin again. Could we run at 94 again as of yesterday? Let's go.
Be interesting. I mean, the news hit overnight. I thought that 21 news would have us get a little bit more of a pump. I think part of the things that people don't realize there is they already own that Bitcoin. They don't need cash to do it, although they are going to do, from what I saw, they are actually going to do a cash raise and then buy the Bitcoin, I think, from themselves. I'll have to do more research on it as their info comes out today. But again, as I mentioned, I'll probably buy some of that because I buy a little bit of everything that's sort of Bitcoin based. But MicroStrategy would still be my spot right now. I have more faith in Michael Saylor than I do in Tether and Jack Mallers. And they have the head. Although what's interesting there is they, in theory, Strategy B has the head start because they've been working on Bitcoin native, infrastructure for the last 2 years, except this merger includes Tether, who's been working on Bitcoin infrastructure almost longer than anybody else, as that, and Strike, which is also, is so huge in the Lightning wallet. So that merger is interesting. Definitely is. My thing is I'm not chasing anything. I don't chase stuff that jumped up 35, 40, 50% already. I'll wait for that inevitable pullback, right?
I mean, Bitcoin right now, 93.2 right now.
Yep, everything's still moving to the upside, looking good. Qs have stalled out a little bit right here. See if we can get this move here before we sign off. Nah, rejected right at it again, man. Bitcoin 93,170 now, Steve, still moving to the upside. So we are seeing some love coming back into Bitcoin here. 93.2 now it's moving. So it looks like there might be some liquidations hitting because that's moving pretty quick.
Yeah, looks like look, I mean, we have a very crypto positive president, so why not?
Did you see? Oh, I didn't bring that up yet. Maybe we'll save that for tomorrow. But the largest 225 holders of Trump coin are going to be invited to a gala event at Trump's golf course outside of DC, and the top 25 holders are then going to go to a private meeting with the president at the White House in a private tour. Isn't that called market manipulation?
It's called illegal, but all right, it is what it is.
My head almost I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. Justin Fidelity says that public company Bitcoin purchases are driving exchange supply significantly lower. So again, what is going to start to happen is you are going to start. Like I said, I wouldn't be short Bitcoin at this point.
No,
I'm not necessarily buying it today. I'm waiting for dips there, but I wouldn't be short it because again, exchange volume is up and supply is down. And when the whales accumulate, they wait. They'll wait to sell.
What do you think about Michael?
Sales of existing homes fell 5.9% in March, biggest decline since 2022. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about Mr. Michael Saylor talking about $50 million per Bitcoin, and that he wants to own 10% of all Bitcoin out there?
Well, we knew that he wants to, be as, he wants to be the bank of Bitcoin. And he's only going to accelerate. This now is a race, right? So that's there's two things that would come with this. And one of them scares me a little bit is, when we saw GBTC come out, right? We saw that huge run up back in 2020. And then we saw that huge sell off that took 2 years to come back from. And the reason is they were holding a market up that didn't have enough legs, right? Do we start to see that? Do these Bitcoin, treasuries put it to a point where retail can't hold it up, and the broader market doesn't hold it up? Because
I think crypto needs to get to the point where the retail have no say in it right anymore. I mean,
well, they don't have say. When I mean retail, I mean the whales, the Bitcoin whales, because what they'll start to do is they sell off of these. They wait because they know that the inevitable blow off top comes if they don't help support it. And if they start doing the opposite and putting their money on the exchanges or their Bitcoin on the exchanges, it spooks the market, right? We saw one whale literally held Bitcoin below 90,000 for over.
But they could just sell a little bit. They need to sell little bits at a time. They need to have.
They don't even necessarily sell it. They can spoof. Remember, there's no laws when it comes to spoofing and all that stuff in Bitcoin and crypto. So you do have to worry. Making another run up here to 461.59 on the Qs here. I'm loving what we're seeing so far. We haven't had the breakout, but it looks like the market really wants to here. I'm telling you.
What? Because we haven't had any tweets. We haven't had any calmness.
It's really positive, yeah. Whatever it is. Although Fed's
Waller, not likely
there will be Waller trying to do on the markets here. There's no obvious reason why tariffs should be off the table as part of fiscal debate. We need better control of the budget deficit. Waller, it's not likely that by July there'll be clearer tariff impacts yet. That could start to give people a little spooked. Waller continuing. We could see prices going up as layoffs start to happen. Waller, the easiest place to offset tariff costs is by cutting payrolls. Man, he's going scorched earth today. What's up there? Trying to make a run. We are at the highs of the day on the Qs. See if this will hold. NVIDIA broke above 105, back at 104.76 here. So we are seeing a run up. Big winner still so far on the Mag 7 is Netflix, up another 2.42% here. And we know it's just been a high flyer. Definitely looks like it's headed back to its set an all-time high again. Wow. Tesla is up 2%. Microsoft up 2% today. NVIDIA up 2%. So nice move to the upside there. Tick still positive pretty nicely here, Steve. So we're trying to make that run, 461.88. We continue to see that run. So we are continuing to melt up nicely here on the Qs. We're right at our resistance. Let's see what happens here. But looking pretty good so far. Tick still up 500. Bitcoin unable to break that 93,250 spot so far. Gold did get back above 3,300 here.
It's really struggling here. I'm not really sure. We are just, I'm seeing this tick now at 355, but 34.59 now. So I'm not, on the advanced decline line. So I think it's just a melt up all day here.
Looks like it wants to. Again, I got to see it break through yesterday's highs. It hasn't done that on any of these things yet. So we're getting close, but we're not there yet. We got to break those, or I just think it's a rinse and repeat, unfortunately. But so far doing well and holding up a little bit longer than we saw yesterday morning so far before the turnaround started. So it is a similar setup, though. We can break through a few things here. We'd be looking nice. So we are breaking where the cash market open was yesterday here on the SPY. I like to see that. To me, that's sort of the first step there, getting above where we were on the cash market. But we still got a little bit to make up here.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything that I'm really, it's not.
Yeah,
really...
it seems like we're fading out the same type of area. So I'd be wary here. Again, trailing stops are your friend in a market like this because we could slide up all day. Absolutely could. ETH calls going boom today. Nice, love it, love it.
Yeah, there it is. There's a little bit of selling there in Bitcoin there. It's struggling here. The algos seem to be totally in charge today.
Yeah, it does seem like an algo day. You're right. I can't argue there. A little bit of a drop here. Did we see any more news? A little bit of drop across everything. Bitcoin and the keys got hit right at the same time. I think it's just this time, 10-10.
Fed's Waller says easiest place to offset tariff costs is by cutting payrolls.
That's what I just said that. Yeah.
I mean, come on, Chris.
So I asked why he's going scorched earth today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, it is 10 after the hour. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. We love to see you every morning. Again, go to quasarmarkets.com, sign up for your free week's subscription, see what it's all about. You're going to love it. We're going to be showing you every day a little bit more and more about the optionality on there, what you can do from the platform. There's so much there. There's hundreds of apps literally built into the platform. Be able to keep them on one screen. Again, and as we get ready to sign off, we can see Bitcoin going almost neutral here. So we love to see that. A lot of green here across our S&P 500 heat map, and almost all of it's an ETF type of day here. Not so much fixed income and currency moving to the downside. Everybody have a fantastic day and be nimble out there while you're trading.